All right, bruh fans, let's talk season 3. Um, I guess it's not a secret that I wasn't the biggest fan of bruh season 3. Um, man, oh man. Okay, let me just put it this way. You all know I reviewed a show. I at least did episodes 1 through 15 of season 3, but due to very low viewership, low ad revenue, I opted to remove it from my review cycle, but I did do a review for the season 3 finale. And briefly at the beginning of the video, I just kind of gave an abridged synopsis of what occurred in episode 16 through 21. And I highly recommend checking out my finale review before watching this. This is pretty much just my thoughts on the season as a whole. If you want my breakdowns of episode 3, 4, 1 through 15 are up, and the finale, so check those out. But it's kind of ironic because I remember before season 3 came out, I made a post that I don't want to say viral, but it went viral within the Tyler Perry community, where I said that here are 5 reasons that bruh is better than Sisters. And that sparked a debate. And at the time, Sisters, I believe, was in season 4. And bruh had only had 2 seasons that have been released. And I gave solid reasons in my opinion. And that's not to say my opinion is more valid than others. But I did say this. As someone who has watched, reviewed, and broken down every episode of both shows up until that point, I think that my reasons have valid evidence as to why bruh stands out more than Sisters, even though at the time bruh had only had maybe less than 45 episodes between seasons 1. I think season 2 was 19 episodes. Season 1 was like 25 or 24, something like that. But yeah, and I felt like, between the shorter runtime, more focus on the smaller group of characters, storylines that actually had substance, consequences for character actions, one of the characters one of the couples already getting married, and I just kept going with reasons why I felt like the show really stood out. And I thought, yeah, pretty solid. But then season 3 came, and well, even though I was saying, oh man, I'm about to eat my words, but then I did justify by saying, hey, just to be fair, I did say, bruh, seasons 1 and 2 prior to season 3 were better than Sisters. And well, season 3, least favorite season of the show. If I had to rank them, just like with Sisters season 1 and 2, bruh season 1 and 2, it depends on the day. It depends on how I'm feeling. I feel like season 1 was a decent start, except for the wedding arc. But season 2 did really pull it together. But at the same time, there were some drop storylines from season 1 that I wish season 2 had followed up on. Not to mention characters like Valerie or Charlie. And then, when you look at season 1, it's like, well, maybe this season isn't as good as I thought because certain storylines were introduced, but considering they didn't get followed up on in season 2, does that diminish season 1? So I put season 2 slightly above season 1. But season 3 is a major fall off in my opinion. Now, I don't know behind the scenes stuff because I don't work for Tyler Perry Studios. I think you all know that by now. At least some people do. Other people think that I know everything and then I only come up with theories to get views. And no, do I come up with theories to get views? Yes. Is this based on stuff that I have that's confidential? No. I'm just speculating. But I do think that when it comes to bruh season 3, it just felt like a disconnect from the other seasons because it just felt like the characters were kind of stale in terms of they were really one note. John, I felt, got the least to do out of the main bruhs because of the fact that if there was one word I had to use to describe John in season 3, it would be suffering. he had to suffer so much from Lydia, his mom, of course, Darla and Greg. He was just getting pushed around by one person, and then the next. I felt bad for him. I'm like, dang, I wish Charlie was still in the show. At least that was a potential love interest I really thought was going somewhere. But no, they just randomly got rid of the character and introduced Lydia. Speaking of Lydia, I do not dislike her as a character. It's just that when it comes to her character, it's kind of like Q on Sisters, where introduces a potential love interest for a character who has not the best luck with, romance. And you thought there would be an interesting storyline for the character, but not. No. But no. That made no sense. Just like the storyline. I was under the impression, oh, I get it. Lydia and John might come together based on their own, past and circumstances of being, locked up. John for taking the fall for his boys, specifically Mike for, sexually assaulting the dean's daughter. And as a result, he got out. But at the same time, his record is still, dirty from that. So he was looked at a certain way by people. That's why he wasn't able to finish college. And, he wasn't able to do much of his life because his criminal record stained how people saw him, his career opportunities, and his life in general. And when it comes to Lydia, the whole thing about killing her ex-boyfriend, at first I thought it was like a violently comedic way of making this character seem, dangerous. But I thought, oh, I know what they're going to do. Maybe it's going to be a situation where it's just like with John, it's not what it seems. Lydia did kill her ex, but it wasn't because she just had a temper tantrum at something he said. It was because it was self-defense. Like maybe she was beaten up or something like that. And, it was an abusive boyfriend, and she, wasn't about to let him put his hands on her one more time, or maybe this time he had something that was going to kill her. So as a result, she went for the jugular and killed him. And then they would both say like, okay, yeah, we can't let our past define us. We were both put into positions where we had a choice. I could have let my boy go to jail, but then I went instead for something I didn't do, and you took a life, but it was either kill or be killed. So I'm not going to judge you based off that. I'll never put my hands on you. We'll be together. But no, we have this character who is just a zany stalker. And one of the biggest things leading into Miss Alice as a character I didn't like was I just felt like there's a huge disconnect between episodes. Like even like episode, from like 7 to 8 or 13 to 14, where one episode you had these characters at each other's throats, and then the next episode they're just like pals, like nothing happened in the past. Like, when Lydia knocked Alice all the smooth out and she acted like she didn't get her ass whooped. And then, one episode she's chasing Lydia with a shotgun. Next thing you know, she's constantly calling Lydia to tell her where John is, and he's made it clear that he's not interested. So I just feel like this is a forced way to insert the character when there is so much more that could have been done. All I'm looking for is a little depth. And I gotta say, Miss Alice did have some good moments throughout the season, especially with Pam in relations to Mike and his addiction and whatnot. And she gave some very, very sage advice. But the thing is, those moments only come once in a blue moon. But when they happen, they are good. It takes me right back to like a Tyler Perry play where it's like, yep, that old woman she knows what she's talking about. But yeah, Miss Alice did have, kind of a friendship which quickly soured with Regina's mom, Hilda. And that had to do with her messing around with her husband and, a bracelet or something like that. And when it comes to, man, I really wanted to highlight the good of season 3, but it really wasn't that good. I do think that, hey, it was cool having Tom back because I think he was gone for the back half of season 3, was it? I mean, back half of season 2, was it? Because I think the first half of season 2, yeah. The first half of season 2 was kind of like Tom prepping Greg to kind of take over his position in the group. And then, Tom has come back. So it was good to have Tom back. He did have a little bit of a subplot with Dina, but my goodness, I did not like that storyline. Dina's cute, fun size, reminds me of Myra from Family Matters. Go back to my episode reviews. I really gush over her. But my issue with the Dina thing is the domestic violence situation and how it was handled. I think that, it's no secret Greg isn't my favorite character, especially during the first half of the season, because him and Darla, I will get to that, trust me, I will. But it's just those situations where he's overly emotional, he snaps on people too much, he's rude. But during the back half of season 3, I'm like, I'm actually on this guy's side because I agree with everything he's saying. It's just that he's being treated like shit by these women and just people in general who are just, completely in the wrong, but he's forced to apologize time and time again. And let me just kind of shift over to Bill, because this was if there was one highlight of the season, in a way, it would be Bill. And I've been shitting on him since season 1. But in season 3, that's one of the things Tyler did right. Bill was written kind of like Sam on the Oval. He was written in a way where, I don't condone cheating, but I understand how he got into that situation. But when you look at it from the beginning, back in season 1 and season 2, when he broke up Regina's wedding, when he and Regina got hastily married, you kind of asked for this. Yes, I think that Regina came on way too strong with way too many changes way too quickly. And I will get to Regina shortly. But I think Bill, as a character, we didn't see him as a dog. We saw him as oh, dang, his life is hell now. I can see why he wanted to get an out. But at the time, he had been married for less than 24 hours. And he has a record for cheating. But this was the first time where it felt like we actually saw the process of how he got from, husband to cheater. But when it comes to how other characters handled the marriage, that's something I really didn't like. Because this season was all over the place. It lacked structure. It lacked direction. It felt like the season was a bunch of puzzle pieces, but instead of fitting together to make one picture, it's like the pieces were just... It's like putting a square block into a round peg. It's not going to fit no matter how many times you try to slam it in there. One episode, at the beginning of the season, Mike, John, hey, you need to get that marriage annulled. I mean, like, this is crazy, just getting married out the blue. And then, Regina has her mom move in and, she's overbearing, talking about changing everything, bringing her dogs, getting, hey, we need to move to a bigger house. A lot of things just didn't work. And yeah, get that thing annulled. But then out of nowhere, I don't know, maybe you should stay married and, work it out. Where the hell is this coming from? I think Tom was the only character from the get-go that did tell Bill, hey, I don't know, maybe you should try. But everybody else get annulled. But then out of the blue, as the season progressed, come on, Bill, you can handle it. You go ahead, get married, stay married. Because Regina kept threatening him with half, like, get a divorce, half. I want to take half. I want to do this. I want to do that. And that's really what made her character unlikable this season, where she weaponized getting married to Bill to get even. She literally sat down and said, I'm going to make you pay for everything you caused me, from ruining my wedding, my relationship with Peter. I'm going to get mine. And I'm like, that is a terrible way to look at marriage. But then on top of that, you chose not to marry Peter. You chose to have sex with Bill on your bachelorette, at your bachelorette party the night before getting married. So now you want to get on him because of your poor decision making. Bill ain't shit. Bill is a cheater. Yeah, you can still love him, but hey, you get what you signed up for. So I didn't really care for her character. Pam, oh my God, I loved her in season 1. But in season 2 and season 3, she is like the typical president. She's the Regina George of the Mean Girls group. Wait, there's only two of them. So, well, girls is plural, so there's not more than one. Yeah, she's the president of the Mean Girls Club. It's like, because Mike was MIA for most of the season, Pam was like the little devil on Regina's shoulder, telling her, stalk Bill, track his phone, something's wrong. Basically gassing Regina up. And to be fair, she was right about Bill cheating. But it's one of those things where, hey, what's going on here? Like, you're literally spending the entire season shitting on Bill, coming over every day to make his life miserable. Even, I mean, technically you're there to see your friend, but you don't shy away from, being mean. But there are times where Pam does greet Bill politely. Good morning, Bill. What are you doing here? So, you meet attitude with attitude. It's kind of like the Martin and Pam back and forth dynamic from the Martin series, but in bruh form. So, when you have Pam pretty much ganged up against Bill, going back to what I said before about the lack of structure and character consistency, when we get to the mid-season finale, which I believe was A Wall Between Us, I think that was the worst Regina episode ever. And Regina was bad when even Pam was like, hey, I think maybe you should lighten up on Bill. When she was the biggest instigator of their, marital drama since the beginning. But then Regina made it clear, like, I'm going to get what I'm owed. Yeah, I didn't like Regina this season. I mean, even when we get to the end of the season where, she comes to the hospital to console Bill because of the situation with Mike and Bill didn't want to hear it, I did feel slightly bad for her. But at the same time, if you look at her behavior towards Bill the entire season, you can understand why the one time she's being sensitive to his needs, he doesn't believe she's sincere because, but then again, he was cheating. So I think, in my personal opinion, I think there's more stacked against Regina than Bill. That's just my opinion. I'm not saying that because I'm a guy. I'm just saying that based off what I've seen. Okay. Also, I did like when her mom was like, I want to get a job to save up. I understand my presence here is, interfering with the marriage. And I like that Hilda was self-aware. It's just that Regina was wrong for springing all this on Bill. Even though Bill was wrong for springing up and ruining her wedding. Yes, tick for tack, but at the same time, Regina just, she kept forcing things on Bill, not considering how Bill felt about things. And then I think at one or two times, she sat down with him, Bill, what's wrong? And then when Bill actually says, look, this place is too small for your mom and some dogs. There's too much change going on. It's okay. It's going to work out. I mean, when you do that kind of shit to a man, he's going to fuck around. Hey, that's all I'm saying. Okay. But have I talked about it? Okay. I think Darla and Greg are the next ones on the list. Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, Mike was gone for most of the season. I'm assuming because the actor was working on other projects. What was that Netflix series called? First Kill, and didn't he appear in Queen Sugar? So yeah, it's kind of like, I guess, when Tom was MIA during the back half of season 2, working on different projects. He was in She-Hulk and another series. I think it was on Amazon, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, it's always cool when the actors have other projects. So, when their characters are not in the show for a while, that's usually the case. But when Mike showed up, it kind of felt like, okay, now the season is definitely taking a more serious turn. And during his absence, I think he was maybe in like a couple of episodes during the beginning of season 3. Like when he talked to Bill about getting an annulment. But when he came back, we find out things have definitely been going haywire in his life, from losing his job, his car, running out of money, getting eviction notices for his loft, and racking up crazy debt with a local drug dealer that John warns him about. Like, look, that dude, he's the kind of person people only go to when they don't have any money. But on the flip side of that, this dude charges crazy interest fees. So, Mike, man, you're going down the wrong path. And Pam is, pleading with him to go to rehab, pleading with him to do better because she doesn't want a repeat of what happened to her dad. But, if I had $1 for every time she said, you asshole, or Mike, go to rehab, and then, her just bad. That's the thing about the female characters. You want to feel bad for them, but they've been bashing on the guys for so long. It's like, I want to feel sad, but then I don't. But then I see that look in her eyes when she's sad, and I'm like, damn it, Pam, I actually care. But overall, by the end of the season, she claims she's done. And I think even Regina said, look, Mike is acting that way because of the drugs. You're not really done. You don't mean that. No, we need to get out of here. No, I think she's going to be back by season 4. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. Damn. If she really did go out like that, that would kind of suck. But you can't really blame her. But yeah, she was there for most of it, but then left when the paramedics said that he didn't have a pulse at the loft. But let's see. Mike gets committed by the end of the season, and I really want to know where that goes in season 4. Okay, now the other characters to talk about. Oh man, we're talking. Wait, why am I talking with a fake accent? We're talking Greg and Darla. While in season 2, I thought, okay, this is an interesting storyline. I don't believe we've ever had the subject of transgenders in a Tyler Perry project. So I wonder how this will be handled, because I thought it was a interesting story arc in season 2 of, do you judge people based on, getting to know them versus being upfront about their sexuality? And I thought that the Greg and Darla storyline was pretty interesting, because being non-LGBTQ and the rest of the letters of the abbreviation, I do not know by hand, but I just want to say LGBTQ to be safe. Being not a person from that community, it's kind of like, I'm interested to see how this will be handled. Not my lifestyle, but let's see how Tyler, handles it. I don't think season 3 handled it well, because I think that when you deal with subjects like sexuality, religion, or politics, if you are overly aggressive to those who do not live the lifestyle or agree with the lifestyle or your thoughts on certain things, you're not going to persuade them by getting all up in their face or accusing them of being anti this or, this, that, and the third. There were moments where Darla, in my opinion, came off as completely unlikable in season 3. And that really was directed mostly at John, who I mentioned earlier in this video, really got shit on the entire season. Now, it turns out that, apparently in college, because Darla went to the same college as the Bruz, because apparently John was one of the guys that made fun of Darla at college. If I remember the backstory correctly, in college, after the transition from Darren to Darla, because John recognized her as Darren from a photo, which is weird continuity, because earlier in the season, it was kind of treated that John meeting Darla at Tom and Greg's apartment was the first time they've met, when in actuality they met in one of the first episodes of season 2. But then I did say, continuity wise, I will let that slide, because with Darla being a cop, and in that episode in season 2, John was kind of like, you know what? No, I'm not interacting with the police. No, it's all good. Yeah, we're cool. We cool in here. You can go now, officer. So during that exchange, I can understand John not looking her directly in the face long enough to be like, wait a minute. So yeah, John's thing at the beginning of the season was going around talking to Bill, talking to Tom. Look, like, hey, do you know that John is dating a, not who, we might think that this person is? That was kind of his thing. And that's what I said. Like, John really got the short end of the stick in terms of character arcs or development this season. Well, yeah. So, going back to Darla's storyline, I think her past was in college. She dated this guy who found out later on in their courtship or whatever that transgender and beat on her and then ridiculed her and, just turned her into a laughing stock. Things got so bad that she left school, went to the police academy, and, that what inspired her to, be a police officer, because she didn't want to be in a position like that again, where she was like physically abused and, ridiculed, this, that, and the third. So it turns out that John was one of the hecklers, I believe. And as a result, I think there was that one episode where the cliffhanger was, to kick your ass. It's like, wait, what? And then that leads to the next episode where she like flips John and then leaves. And then Greg jumps on his case, like literally going off. I did not care for Greg during the first half of this season. I mean, later on in the season, we learned the reason he's so quick to, blow a fuse is due to the fact that his ex-wife wants more spousal support or something like that. And I don't know how divorce works, so I really couldn't tell you if that's accurate or not, where, wait, you can change the spousal support after getting a divorce even though it's been finalized? Again, I don't know. But yeah, for him to be just so overly emotional for most of the season really rubbed me the wrong way, because, like, bro, you just got here. Secondly, so many other people in the show are giving you a chance. Like, Bill is letting you stay at his, Tom is letting you stay at his apartment. The other bros are letting you back in the circle for being gone so long. So for you to get all up in their face, attitude, it's not cool. But yeah, John was one of the hecklers, and as a result, he had some awkward interactions with Darla throughout the season. Like when what was his name? Blinky, the guy that Alice was seeing over at the apartment, actually tore it up. Oh yeah, that was another thing about the season. It was never addressed to why Blinky defaced their apartment, like tore the place up, wrote bitch on the wall or something because they thought it was Lydia, but it was Blinky. It was never explained why he did it, and Alice ended up just getting with him again anyway. Okay, but in any case, when it was, the question of who did it, Darla was the officer that came over. Instead of, just being professional and getting the job done, she gets in her feelings. I think John, apologized for what happened in the past again. And, he basically said, like, hey, I didn't grow up with, the gay community around that often. So, I'm just sorry for what I did in the past. And instead of gracefully accepting the apology, it just got to a point where Darla got into the, well, we're here, so get used to it attitude, as opposed to understanding that, okay, John, yeah, you didn't grow up with people like me around, just be kind. That's pretty much should have been the message right there. Just because you didn't grow up around a certain, demographic of people doesn't mean you have the right to harass or ridicule them. That could have been a strong lesson. However, a strong, well-written lesson. Instead, you have a person from a certain people group who shows animosity to someone because, in the past of ridiculing them. But then Darla got in his face, like, ooh, well, maybe you need to change the way you look at certain things, implying like, are you coming on to him? Because again, I feel like that is defeating the purpose. I feel like Darla was written where her emotions towards someone who isn't, in the past anyway, wasn't sensitive to those who, are transgender and whatnot. And that kind of overshadowed what could have been a more heartfelt message of, hey, people are people regardless of how they look, what they wear. But again, I just felt like the message was definitely construed, and it got to the point where she's like, you know what, I'm going to send up the male officer up here because maybe he can handle it better. And I'm like, okay. And then later on in the season, when she does finally, oh man. So she gets on Greg's case because of the fact that he didn't answer her phone calls or text her all day. And she has a bad habit of being a creeper. I don't know how else to explain it. Like, you wait for Greg to get home from work because you're peeking out your door to see when he gets, home. And then other time, she even says that like twice during the season. Oh, I saw you come in, or I saw you walk down the hallway. That's creepy. So I feel like Mr. Wynn from Hey Arnold. Yes, it's very creepy. But she goes on a couple dates with him later on, but even Pam, who rudely interrupted their date, literally says, yeah, watch out for her. The overly jealous type that blows up at the drop of a hat. Be careful with her. But she even has this one guy that she found on a trans dating app, and she literally goes over to Greg's apartment just to rub it in his face. Calls it. How many times did she call him a bitch this season? And I'm like, are we supposed to be rooting for you? I'm not. So it gets to a point where I'm just thinking, why are you even coming to Tom's apartment? Well, Tom and Greg's apartment. If 1 minute you will blow up in Greg's face, call him everything but a child of God. We're done. Lose my number. And then come over. Hi, I just wanted to see how you're doing. No. I think the Dina thing was one of the worst storylines ever in terms of domestic violence, because I think that episode dropped right around the time we were seeing a similar situation between Danny and Jonah and sisters. And I think that Greg, while he slapped the shit out of Dina, I think the situation was definitely poorly handled because of the fact that, not to cheerlead or promote putting hands on a woman. No, I think that it's a conversation people should have more often, because I think that people allow certain statements to override the point of a message where, men should never hit women. Okay, well, women shouldn't hit men either. You can't just say women shouldn't hit men and let women go crazy. What if the woman has a knife? What if the woman keeps physically assaulting the man after he said, no, don't touch me, and he hasn't even put hands on her? But then if he, is the victim of, 15 hard shoves or, a barrage of punches, if he, strikes one time to make her stop, he's the villain. I think the argument is kind of Black lives matter. No, all lives matter. No, you're missing the point. Don't put your hands on a woman. Don't put your hands on anyone. I think the arguments can be, rationalized like that, where, well, yeah, men don't put your hands on women, but like Bill Burr said, you gotta admit, women, not every ass whooping comes out of the sky. Dina was clearly drunk, but at the same time, she kept wailing on Greg, just barrage of punches. He strikes her one time, she goes down. And Tom, I felt, handled the situation very poorly. He went in on Greg, and it's like, Tom, yo, let's be real. The situation looks awful. Two muscular, men, black men at that. One small, seemingly helpless black woman in their apartment was struck. Who are the police going to believe? So Darla came over because she heard the screaming and whatnot. Okay, I will let this slide because she is a police officer. But then she finds out the truth about what happened, about Dina being the one to aggravate the fight, or, start the fight and whatnot, and being drunk and whatnot. Dina leaves. And then when all is said and done, not only does she call Greg an ass, but she proceeds to hit Greg. Wow. But then comes over, sorry card or whatever. And it's like, what? And Greg has to apologize because Tom's like, look, we go to work tomorrow, you apologize. And I'm not saying he should have put hands on her. All I'm saying is that when you look at the entirety of that situation, he was the victim, not Dina. Dina arrogantly says several times, I could ruin your life, but I'm not. And we're supposed to cheer for her, like, right on, Dina, you did the right thing by not, coming up with false accusations. First of all, correct. Not making false accusations, bravo. You got one up over Valerie in season 1. But the fact that you said it like, I could ruin your entire life right now because I have the power to do so in my hands, but I'm not. You say that like I'm doing you a favor by not coming up with accusations, which she is. But at the same time, you're completely neglecting the fact that You were the aggressor in that situation. Look, check out my episode review. I went on a damn rant because I did not like how that storyline was handled at all. So, moving on from there, we go to, after they have that one date and Darla goes off on him. She comes over to the apartment. Darla is a creeper. She drinks too much. When she drinks too much, she, becomes overly flirtatious. Then the big question is, let's have sex. No, I'm not ready versus I don't think you can handle it. Oh, I think I can handle it. So, no, I think John was worried for his boy. Like, yo, do you know that Darla isn't, who you think she is? But then it turns out that Greg already knew and he doesn't care. He just wants to, I guess, explore his options. So I guess one could argue that was John checking to make sure his boy was, oh yeah. Because earlier in the season, it's like, yo, are you straight? And it's kind of like, wait, are you implying like, his sexuality? Or are you asking like if he's, cool, like, he knows, who Darla really is, that kind of thing? I don't know. Like I said, I'm not the core audience for that kind of storyline. So I don't know if my thoughts are valid. I mean, technically they are because they're my thoughts, but I don't know how to react to this situation. I mean, if Greg has something that he wants to experience, well, that's on Greg. Hey, that's your boy. Don't look at him any differently. It's just that Greg just didn't need to get bent out of shape so quickly all the time through the season. He would have been more likable. But kind of like John during the back half, he really got shit on a lot. And I think that, wasn't fair. But then Darla, if I'm not mistaken, after appearing drunk in episode 15 and Greg takes her to the couch, we don't see her again for the rest of the season. Like I said, I watched every episode and I could be wrong, but I don't think Darla was seen or mentioned from episode 16 all the way to episode 22. But long story short, her and Greg have no business being together. No, it has nothing to do with, the transgender part of their dynamic. No. It's in terms of their temperament. They are not a good fit whatsoever. So that's pretty much it on that. But overall, like I said, the season really lacked direction. I think that it wasn't put together well. But here's the thing, though. Maybe something to be optimistic about. Sister Season 3, I ranked as the lowest season ever. Don't worry, when Season 5 is over, that's going to be the lowest season ever. But Season 3 was awful. Season 4 was only slightly better. But we do have Bruh Season 4 coming up, but there is a different writer or writers working on the show. So it's not just Tyler Perry. And with that being said, I do have some hope that the next season will actually be spectacular. I really hope it is, because Season 3 was not it. Not to mention, like I mentioned on episode review, it had no business being as long as it did. It did not need to be 22 episodes. The hospital stuff just took up way too much time. We had way too much in terms of repetitive dialogue. The characters standing around in different parts of the hospital saying the same thing over and over again. Characters who didn't need... Lydia and Alice did not need to be in the hospital. They just threw off the tone and the vibe of the entire scene itself. Alice just, raising hell for John by calling Lydia over, I think is pretty ridiculous. I mean, I think, as I mentioned earlier in the video, Lydia could have been something so much more than what she was. But it kind of reminds me of House of Pain season 10 and Assisted Living season 2, when Tyler Perry handed the shows over to other writers. When the first episode premiered, I'm like, holy shit, this is like an entirely different show, and it's better because of it. But I'll never forget in that first episode, Lisa on House of Pain was like a completely different character in terms of demeanor. Oh, wow, she's intelligent, and she's capable, and this, that, and the third. I wonder if the same thing is going to be done to characters like Lydia, for example. So, I do hope Season 4 is a step up. I will be watching Season 4, because I have to see if it's worse than Season 3. But I will watch Season 4. And some things I want to know in the season, is Pam really done with Mike? Will Mike, actually get better through the rehab program? Even when he does get out of the rehab program, don't forget that one drug dealer. He's going to owe him a lot of money. How are they going to handle that? Because, he's run out of funds himself. There are a lot of questions. So I'm wondering, will season 4, will it pick up where it left off? Or kind of like season 1, will a bunch of the storylines established in season 3 just be tossed out in exchange for other things? Will Bill and Regina work it out or get a divorce? Will John find a love interest who isn't crazy? Will Alice find a man? Will John move out of his mama's house? Oh, also, when it comes to Dina, why the hell would Tom even agree to give her a second date? Okay, that's it. All right, so let me know your thoughts on Bruh season 3. I don't think it was good. It wasn't good. But that doesn't mean season 4 can't be better. But let me just say this. With season 3 as being as rock bottom as it is, there's no place to go but up. So I am looking forward to season 4. But with that being said, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What did you think of Bruh season 3? And I'll catch you in the next one.